Hello guys, so today I'll be showing you my MLB deck profile. Uh, for DZBTO from DZBTO1 to DZBTO3 update before Ames does so that I beat him to it. I'm calling you out right now because you won't respond to my freaking text. So first, obviously you have the crest, Wingard Brave because he's best boy. Marin so that when roll upon by a grade 2 blaster, in this case we'll use Blaster Blade, then you can search Blaster down. Basically you want the 2-piece combo as soon as possible so that you can actually hit your nice 2-crit attack and have more pressure. It's way better than having the high base. Trust me, you don't need a high base on turn 3 regardless. This meta is not that fast. Turn 4 decks are fine. And then MLB, of course, because this is an MLB deck profile. Blade is pretty good, is better because you can counter Chrono Jet later on by riding Dark over, and then you can get the 2-crit base just immediately without. Then you can set up your board later on. So that's the right deck. As for the main deck, As for the right deck, we'll start with our additional 3 copies of MLB because Persona Riding is basically a standard in the D series. Then for our grade 2s, we'll run our additional 3 Blaster Blades because we don't want to lose Blaster Blade. Because if our right deck one just disappears, we're dead. The deck functionally shuts down. You want your multi. Then for additional grade 2s, obviously your darks. I'm sure, of course, I got a hollow version. Gorgeous. Now this one is great for like against like strike decks when you're going. It's actually much more advantageous when you're going second. Because when you have you can prep a rear guard in your field, assuming your opponent doesn't counter it, you can use this skill to twin drive your opponent on turn 3 regardless of what they're on. So you want 4 copies because you want to see your triple drives because that's what MLB does nowadays. Your 4 copies, of course, of Blaster Blade, the Vanguard, which its skill, which is one of the most important skills. The first skill is the most important one because even in Premium you use it. If it's in Soul, your Majesty Lord Blaster on Vanguard Circle becomes 18k base, which is very important. Its second skill, Counterblast 1, when bind at the end of your grade 3 Vanguard attack, Counterblast 1, bind your MLB. So this one, the grade 3 MLB, so you can't do it on strides, which suck. And bind it, superior write this, and then until the end, and then it gets plus 5k until the end of the turn, I believe. And then when placed on Vanguard Circle, so ride or however on place ability, you can energy blast 3 and retire rear guard, which is functionally free because energy is dirt cheap. Of course, it's like, how do you search those pieces other than with Marin? Because you know Marin, when rode over grade 2, you can search for another grade 2, in this case mostly dark because that's all you do. You have your 4 copies of Emmeline because you need your Emmeline to search. But Emmeline's not good enough anymore in this day and age. So of course we have our gorgeous best friend, our Blaster Dog. It's essentially Cellgown on steroids, but for blasters only. It gets plus 5k when Blaster Blade and Dark and Soul, which is always from turn 3 onwards. So it's a 13k booster in its continuous ability. Second skill is when attack or at the end of this battle boosted or when after your attack, put this into Soul, which essentially allows you to use Emmeline more. And you can search your top 7 and look for a blaster, any blaster. So you can search for your P right, however, there's no it's not your opponent cannot really cut block you out of that, so it's really good. And you also want to search your P right because if you don't P right, it sucks. Of course, other than searching, you have to hard draw this. So I'm running 4 so that I can find it. And plus, they're great shield fodder. They're 5k shields. It could have been worse. So obviously, the skill is when on boosted MLB. At the end of the battle, this unit boost. If it's MLB, you take out up to 1 Blaster Blade and 1 Blaster Dart and call them to the same column. Second skill is when it's when your opponent is grade 3 or greater, your grade 2 Ascension can boost, which is great for this deck because you almost have like no grade 1s. Other than that, of course, you want your cats so that you can find. So if you cannot find this, you can use the cats. After you Soul Blast the right deck cards, Marin and Wingull, like after you Soul Blast these two out, you can just throw them back in the right deck. They have no use anymore. You don't want to see them. Then of course, if you get CB denied heavily and you only have one counterblast left, or the Gasless Dragon is great because you can. A cool thing you can do is you can counterblast one, and then you in essence, after you counterblast, you can use Blaster Blade, the Vanguard skill first, then you activate this skill to Energy Blast 3 to counter charge. Then you can counter blast again for the Amulet for the Cordelia skill. So this is very useful for that. Whenever you need it, it's great. Then of course your one Elementaria and your three other PGs because PGs are great, and affect PGs of course because you don't want to waste your hand on things that you can't do. Of course you're using your 4 standard heals because effect heals rely on your opponent too much. Unless you know what opponent you're going up against, this is the best you're gonna get for consistency's sake, because we are here for consistency, not too much power. Of course, your trial deck crits and your other 4 crits, because pressure, you want to hit your opponent hard, and front triggers can lose its value a bit too fast. Of course, your 3 effect draws, because they're no brainer. They are free 10k shield. Why are you complaining about? You run MLB, 10k shields are practically 15k shields in this format. You're good. And your 1 copy of OT, in this case, will be the blue OT, because you want more crits, and 100 mil is power. And also so that when you Soul Blast, let's say, a card out like maybe Cordelia or Gasless Dragon, then you can research everything, or Emmeline even, or Blaster Blade of Vanguard, which is even better, or your P-Ride, however you want. Whatever you need in that time is very, very useful. So yeah, this is my deck profile. Maybe I should show you how it's played. Let's see if I can alter this. I'm gonna show you how it's like if you go first, because oftentimes if you go second, you can adjust accordingly, but there's not much difference. I'll show you going first because you're usually on a disadvantage on MLB when you're going first. Anyway, unless you're fighting against strike decks, because strike decks are way too easy, especially Shiranui in standard. It's just sad, really, because it's a little too easy to beat them nowadays. Shiranui's nerf made it worse. Anyway, so 5 cards. Let's take a look. This is actually a pretty good hand. So what you want to do is remove Emmeline, remove Gasless Dragon, you don't need that now, and a crit. Then we'll draw 3. We're going first, so because that's what this deck is not as good at, unless you're playing against Chronojet, then it's great at it, or any other decks, including like Shiranui, or even like, actually, yeah, even against Messiah, although my experience with Messiahs, they often fail to do a 5 attack combo, so this is a pretty perfect hand, because you want to see Cordelia in your first hand, and you want to see Ordeal Dragon and Emmeline. These two can be anything. Ideally, you want like fodder, not this. Anyway, we'll stand up. Vanguard. Draw. Now this is what you want to see. You want to see a draw trigger, so they can discard that for free. Then ride up. We'll ride out to Emmeline. Obviously, you get your energy generator. Because you're going first, you don't do anything. And then your opponent will attack. So you will take a damage because you want the damage. Then, oh yeah, my counter. You would want the counter. Let's bring that out. And then you would start your ride phase by energy charging 3, draw a card. Oops. Gasless Dragon, that's not bad. So your priorities on discard is usually Gasless Dragon because you don't need it immediately. So it's best to do that. Your OT can grab it out if you need to, and or anything else. So you ride over, look at the top 7 cards, as you do. 5, 6, 7. Now, your priorities is to meet the MLB requirements. So if you don't have a dark in your hand, obviously you take out dark over anything else. Blaster Blade the Vanguard is not a priority in this. I mean, you're 4 of it. If you can't find it within this 50 card shuffle, I think you got other issues. Anyway, add that to hand, and then I guess. Alright, then you counter blast. Your opponent usually has no rear guard, so you draw. It's a free draw. Nice. You got Ordeal Dragon. Now, what you can do, which is really fun, you can call Ordeal Dragon like so. Because they won't be on your opponent's turn. That's the idea. So you would swing your Blaster Blade with Ordeal Dragon. So you get a turn 1 and 2 booster, essentially. These are great boosters. Damage check, drive check, nothing. Then end of battle, put it into Soul. And then you look at the top 7. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Gee, I wonder what's the choice. Obviously, Blaster Blade, the Vanguard. Shuffle. Again. Just keep shuffling, just keep shuffling, just keep shuffling. And then after you shuffle, cut. Because that's how this game works. Edit to hand. And then you attack. Regardless of whether it hits or not. You just put it to soul. It doesn't matter. Just you want it for the search engine in the early game, because deck thinning is deck winning, as the kids call it. I don't know. Anyway, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And note, it says blaster. It doesn't have to be. There's no grade restriction. So you get up your P ride immediately. Oops. I'll grab that coin later. Give me a minute. Just shuffle. Cut. Because your opponent cuts the deck. Because that's a free plus. Anyway, so now that's over. Your opponent's turn, you would typically take 1. Since you go first, they'll be on grade 2. So they usually attack like twice. Let's say they got a bit aggressive and they attack 1 time. Oh, crit. Okay, that's great. Anyway, then it's your turn. You stand, draw. Now you don't really have much great options. So generally, what I would do is just discard the extra Blaster Dart, because you have 4 in your main deck anyway. So you can afford to discard Blaster Dart as your choice. Right, Majesty Lord Blaster. Since you go first, I wouldn't recommend calling Cordelia immediately. But you definitely have to call Dark immediately. But actually, to be more efficient, we can call Emmeline, since we have her. So Emmeline, you would primarily Soul Blast your right line cards first, because you don't want to waste it later for Ketsu if you need to. In defense or offense. 5 cards. Oh no, a Blaster. MLB. Now this is a weird situation, where your best course of action is to call it, technically, because you want a plus, not be 0, but let's see here, what can we do? Yeah, it's fine. We can just throw the Persona, right? You hit pretty hard anyway, it's fine. Oh, you're on 6, let's not forget that. That's fine. Deck thinning. Actually, right. Call it to rear guard. Then just call Dark. And then you can counter blast. You can use its counter blast to retire one of your opponent's rear guards. There we go. That's how that works. Yeah, that makes sense. Then you go from there. You swing, add 5k to Emmeline. Then you swing. That's 15k to crit, triple drive. So first, second, third. That's not bad. Then add a battle skill. You bind it. Then you superiorize the Blaster Blade, the Vanguard that you got. Then generally, if your opponent had rear guards, you generally spend it immediately and retire it. Then you would attack 15,000 power. Okay, unfortunately there's no trigger. That's fine. Then right at stand. So now your Majesty Lord Blaster is 20,000 power, which is a lot. Then you attack. This would be plus 15,000 power, so it becomes a 25k beater, which is way too heavy. Then I guess that will be the end of our turn. Let's say your opponent comes and attacks. They swing usually the most powerful attack. Ah, shame. Then we're on 5 damage, not great. But then I guess your opponent, let's say they're pretty aggressive. We can do a perfect guard. Then your best fodder is to discard Ordeal for this in this case. Then I guess your opponent wouldn't be able to hit pretty hard because you're 20,000 unless your opponent is Coral or something, which is rare. Stand and then you draw. Oh cool, now Blaster Blade. Oh, that kind of makes me regret it a bit. You call Cordelia, and your opponent should be on grade 3 by now, so you just call Blade. You call Dark on the same column. Oh wait, you Persona, right? Forgot. Oops. Ah, crit, whatever. Anyway, so then you attack. This is a 30k call, 30,000 power column. When so, you generally retire for free. You got drive check, blah blah blah, all that fun stuff. You attack while boosted. Notice you don't have Blessed Blade of Vanguard. You just need to drive check it pretty easy, like so, like I said. Second, crit. You depending on what your opponent does, obviously. Third, whatever, it's Emmeline. And a battle skill, I generally prefer to do Blaster Blade of Vanguard skill first because it's good. Then you counter blast again. Then you pick one dark. I typically pick the nicer ones. And then the right deck version of Blade just because it's better. And then you have to swing on Vanguard first because you want Majesty Lord Blaster to be back on because this is an end of battle skill, not an end of turn skill. So you would swing on Blaster Blade of Vanguard at 25,000. You would drive check, naturally, nothing interesting to write home about. Rewrite. Then you will attack your 30k, and now your Emmeline has swing for 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a 20,000 power, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 power. And your opponent's functionally not guarding that attack whatsoever. Let's say your opponent be aggressive, you got plenty of shield value. As long as your opponent is not Dread Jeweled, you're fine. Let's say they're pretty aggressive. Oh, sheesh. Let's say they want to cripple your board, so they get rid of Blaster Blade. Perfect guard. Your best discard at this point is just Blaster Blade, really. And then, yeah, that's it. You stand. Now, you don't have Counterblast, which is an issue. Oops. And then you draw. Oops, a heal. That's not good. Your best course of action generally is to call Blade, call Ordeal Dragon. I think. Should just call Emmeline, really. You can Soul Blast out your last one. Look at the top 5. Hopefully we can find Blaster Blade of Vanguard. We can find a Blaster, just not Blaster Blade of Vanguard, which is fine. Deck thinning is deck winning. Let's keep going. Oopsie daisy. You want the triple drive. It's fine. Let's just cut the deck again. We'll call over Blaster Dark. Actually, yeah. You will call over Blaster Dark, because Blaster Dark's skill is when a unit is retired during your turn, doesn't matter how, it's just retired, it gets plus 5,000 power, which is a lot. It gives you sick numbers like a 25,000 power column. Add it to Soul as you do. So this will be your final turn. It doesn't really matter how it goes. Triple drive, draw. Oops, another draw. third, fourth, third. Nice. Then you will attack with each one gets its own proc. So this is a 10, 20, 30, 40. This is a 40,000 power. 1,000 power beater, which is heavy. Oh, look, cats. And you would generally win by now. If you don't win, something's off. Either your opponent is too defensive or whatsoever. But you're essentially burning through your deck pretty fast because there's a lot of deck thinnings in this deck. There's a lot of way to like thin your deck to have high crits. Like, look, it's trigger dense. Like you're not losing this game by this point. So its strength is there. I hit 251, not with this specific deck, but a variation of this in the WGP Singapore Season 2, 2024. So it's a pretty good deck, actually. I enjoy it. And honestly, it's just because I dedicated myself to freaking Blaster Blade my whole life. I got blinded. Honestly, one of my regrets, anyway. There's the rent section. It's just not building for building MOB and V, and I probably should build other decks like Soul Save, like Thing Saver Dragon, but oh well, that's my life for you. Not important. Hopefully, I think I'll just cut this out or something. So this is my deck profile for Majesty Lord Blaster, updated up to DZBT04. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!